Hi, welcome back to the Crypto Dave YouTube channel. It's Friday afternoon, which means another crypto weekly roundup video. And before we jump into the stories this week, let's start by, as always, by taking a quick glance at the markets. And we can see here, market cap currently around the 284 billion mark. BTC dominance of 45.2%, so just over 45%. Now that's a really strong buy at Bitcoin. What you normally see is that when Bitcoin goes up in price, and kind of goes on a little bit of kind of like a bull run, then the alts run even kind of harder. So what you tend to see is when Bitcoin goes up in price, the altcoins go up even more so, and Bitcoin dominance falls. But in this case, Bitcoin dominance is actually up. And if we look back here, we can see, those of you who follow the markets, we know about 3 or 4 days ago, we had this big spike in price. Earlier in this week, so we had this big spike in price really across the kind of board. All the kind of main kind of currencies did it. Now Bitcoin has held on to all these kind of gains. You see here it's tracking sideways, been tracking sideways for the last sort of 3 days, ever since it kind of made that big run up, whereas a lot of other currencies have lost a lot of those kind of gains. So we look here at Ethereum, it's now trading back under where it was before that kind of pump earlier in the week. Ripple's had a pretty catastrophic week as well, but a lot of them, you know, you got Bitcoin Cash, EOS, Stellar has had well, quite a stellar week. Apologies for the bad pun. Litecoin, similar kind of trend, so trending down a bit. Cardano, IOTA, etc, etc. So Bitcoin dominance up 45.2%. It's held on to kind of those gains. We're trading around the 7,500 mark, just under at the kind of moment. Just wanted to show you this other site. So I just came across the this site this week. So it's called coincheckup.com. It's very similar to CoinMarketCap, but it's got some quite nice features. So there's a customized table bit, and you can edit this custom table and add in lots of different kind of columns with different information that you might want. You can then kind of save it to your account. So if you sign up with your Facebook or Google account, you can then save those kind of changes. But there are a few things that I think are really kind of nice, and they're quite simple. So if we look at the 7-day graphs here, now CoinMarketCap has exactly the same kind of graphs here, as you can see, but it's a very small point. But here on CoinCheckup, if a coin's down over that 7-day period, it shows up in red. So if we scroll down here, we can see Binance is down this week, VeChain's down, Ontology's down, most of it's kind of green, which means they're kind of up, but it's very small little kind of changes like that, but they're really kind of useful for seeing things at a glance. Now the great thing is that it uses different shades of green and red to show you how much coins are up and down. Now from my video, the good thing about CoinMarketCap is that there's this big space on the right hand side, so I can overlay my webcam video on it, which you can't do here. But that's, you know, it's a very kind of small point, but it's a really good site. I think I'm going to use this a lot more. As I said, you know, Stellar, fantastic week, up 50% on the last 7 days. We've got Cardano up a third. A lot of other kind of coins. Dash is up 20% almost, really good. Zcash up 20%. A lot of these kind of gains from Zcash, stuff like that, from the Coinbase listing announcement a week ago. OX is up, Decred, BitShares, scroll a bit further down, Dogecoin up almost 60% this week. So we're going down into the sort of like bottom half of the top 100 now, but you can see there's a number of coins which made really big gains. We've got a lot within the 20 to 30% mark. Really good one here, Moac, I don't know what that is, and Kin, both up 50-60%. Zencash up 40%. That's really good news for Zencash. Had a really good week this week. And then we've got 10x. So quite interesting here. We've got 10x and Monaco at positions 86 and 84. So that's down. They were next to each other just now. It's just switched around a little bit, I think, here. But basically, very close to each other in the kind of list. Both worth around 112-ish million. 10x, really good week this week, up 40-odd%. Monaco had a really good week last week, which was up a lot, but these two kind of battling it out. So they're both tokens that are, or companies that are launching crypto credit or crypto debit cards, I suppose, sort of interfacing kind of cryptocurrencies with traditional kind of Visa cards or Mastercard. So be interesting to see which of these two wins out within this kind of little battle. So they're kind of battling it out for market cap at the moment. I do have a Monaco card on order. I don't have a 10x one. I know there's been delays with with both kind of projects. But it's nice to see these kind of projects coming out. It'll be interesting to see which does best out of those. But you can see down here lots of coins making double-digit and larger kind of gains. So yeah, really good week for crypto in general. But yeah, coincheckup.com, check it out, really nice little site. Anyway, let's jump over to the first story this week, and that is Blackrock. So the big pump at the beginning of the kind of week, and a lot of people, the big kind of like rise in price, a lot of people put it down to this story, which is Blackrock. So Blackrock is the largest, I think currently has, was it 6.3 billion or 6.3 trillion rather in assets as of the end of June this year. It's the largest asset manager in the world, and their CEO basically came out and said that they had a team that was looking into cryptocurrencies, and a lot of people on the back of this think this was maybe the driving force. It was like the kind of catalyst for the big kind of hiking price on Bitcoin. Now, to be fair to Larry Fink, who's their CEO, he did come out and said, you know, they haven't received investor demand. So he was like, you know, we haven't had a lot of investor demand, anything like that, but we are looking at the kind of technology. Seems quite bullish on the technology in general. So a lot of people put this story down to why we had that big run up in crypto a few days ago. As you can see, it's a huge company, you know, huge amount of assets under management from BlackRock, and if they do move into the crypto space, that undoubtedly will push crypto kind of prices skyward. But yeah, really interesting story. Let me know what you think. Do you think this was the main kind of driver of prices this week, or do you think we just kind of like got stuck in that kind of like sideways trending channel, and you know, people wanted to see, you know, a little bit of kind of an uptick, you know, that the bulls took over from the bears for a while? You know, what do you think it was? Do you think it was other stories? But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. But I think the fact that BlackRock has been evaluating cryptocurrencies, to be fair to them also, they said that they'd started kind of a couple of years ago, that this sort of process had already been in place. But it became a story at the beginning of this week. We had that corresponding hike in prices, so they may well be correlated in some way. Now, the next story, this is something that I read about at the beginning of the year. You've probably seen these pictures. So this was at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas at the beginning of the year, and there were these Kodak cash miners out. Now, this was on the Kodak's official stand. So this was within the official stand of Kodak at the show, and a lot of people thought it was a bit of a kind of like a bizarre kind of mix. So Kodak's share price on the back of this, you know, basically exploded, went up about 10-15% if I remember kind of correctly. But it turns out now that this kind of whole mining thing, you know, has kind of evaporated. It's been looked at by the SEC, and to be fair to Kodak, it wasn't something they were doing directly. They leased their name out to other companies, and this secondary kind of company, or this company that was leasing their name, were basically just rebranding an ASIC kind of mine, and then they were going to sell these kind of miners or lease them to the public for several £1,000s, and then give the give whoever's kind of like, you know, kind of purchased or bought into this kind of system a share of mining profits. Now, at the time, we scroll down here, they wanted an upfront fee, or this was their plan, of about $3,400, and they were saying that people would be able to make about $375 a month. Now, a lot of people immediately jumped on it and said, well, there's no way that's going to be, they're going to be kind of paying out like that for two years. The Bitcoin difficulty is continuously going up. You know, the rewards will kind of like decrease as time goes on. They also said that they were going to put a load of these devices at Kodak's headquarters because they've got cheap electricity, but it turns out it's all kind of like fallen apart. So the company that was doing this was Spotlight USA. It was then basically we had to kind of like abandon its plans. The SEC got involved and basically kind of said, you know, you can't do this. They had this partially built website, Kodak Hash Power, out there. They've now said that they will just move all their kind of machines to Iceland, and they will just become like a kind of mine farm. I don't know if they're going to try and turn into kind of like a hash flare kind of Genesis mining type thing, but anyway, the Securities and Exchange Commission, so the SEC, got involved, and this was kind of shut down, this whole idea. So it doesn't look like it got any further than this kind of unfinished website and an idea. And Kodak have confirmed that they didn't have any of these units running at their headquarters. I believe the company said that, the Spotlight USA said that they had 80 already running in the headquarters. So yeah, it's amazing that this kind of like fell apart. What was I think even more surprising at the time was that the fact that Kodak just mentioning something blockchain related, even if it wasn't, you know, them themselves that were doing it, led to a massive increase in share price. It really reminded me of the .com boom, where if you added .com after your kind of company name, you know, your company immediately became kind of worth more. So yeah, interesting to see this kind of fall apart. And they've got a couple of Coinbase stories now. So these seem really good news. So this was early in the week. Coinbase fully regulated following SEC approval. Really good news story this seemed to be. So last month, Coinbase acquired a broker-dealer and investment advisor called Keystone Capital, and it was reported by Bloomberg. So, you know, sort of it looked like a sort of like well backed up kind of story, and basically they reported that the acquisition had been approved by the SEC and that Coinbase even was now an officially regulated broker-dealer and investment advisor, and this basically they said allowed them to offer tokens which were classed as securities on the Coinbase platform. So really interesting kind of story. I'll put all the links below as always. You can take a look at this. And then a couple of days later, a little bit embarrassingly for Coinbase now say they never got an endorsement from the SEC to list security tokens. So it required somebody from the Securities and Exchange Commission to come out and basically said that the agency did not give Coinbase any green light to list tokens classified as securities on their platform. And then it was kind of clarified that the acquisition of the company didn't require SEC approval. So I'm not quite sure whether this was kind of like misreporting or whether Coinbase were kind of reporting it to kind of like reporters as having got approval. Anyway, Coinbase then turned around and said, well, we didn't actually need approval for the broker purchase, the broker-dealer kind of purchase to go through this Keystone Capital. So they didn't need that, and that they'd only held informal talks with the SEC. So it was a little bit of a kind of climb down from Coinbase and slightly embarrassing for them. But I think the overall kind of news is very kind of positive. I think the acquisition of Keystone Capital is really kind of positive for Coinbase. Maybe they need to be a little bit tighter with their reporting and PR in the future. And then the last story this week, this is I suppose sort of the merger of kind of like old school financial kind of businesses with cryptocurrency. So this was a Mastercard patent which was granted last week, I believe, for speeding up crypto payments, and it's kind of at the edge of the ignorance of kind of Mastercard here. It's talking about the fact that, and it's talking obviously about Bitcoin here, it takes a significant amount of time for a blockchain-based transaction to be processed. So it's talking about 10 minutes. That's obviously Bitcoin. They're not taking into account Lightning Network or anything like that. They're certainly not taking into account some cryptocurrencies which are a lot quicker, even if they're blockchain-based, such as, I don't know, Digibyte, for example. Anyway, so Mastercard have come up with this kind of idea where they will tie users' kind of accounts kind of together somehow, and they will be able to kind of like convert everything into a kind of fiat amount to sort of like consolidate payments via crypto. So it will work out exactly what something is worth in kind of real time, the thing, and then it will make that transaction, the crypto transaction, in the kind of back end. So it's interesting to see kind of Mastercard, you know, as one of these companies who kind of like discredited cryptocurrencies for ages, and now a lot of these companies are now going, well, hang on, we can't get rid of kind of cryptocurrency. We don't think cryptocurrencies are going to die. How can we take advantage of them? How can we make money from them? So it's not the first time they've tried to get involved. I think it was last year they did. They filed for a patent which would allow sort of chargebacks on cryptocurrency, kind of rather sort of not discrediting, but rather kind of like reducing one of the, you know, the real kind of like benefits of kind of cryptocurrency, which seems kind of bizarre, but you know, they're trying to kind of put their traditional kind of stamp on cryptocurrency. I think a lot of these companies, they see, you know, cryptocurrency really is just kind of like a way of them saving money in the kind of back end within their own kind of back end, but they still want the kind of transactions to come through their traditional kind of systems. And I don't think they're seeing beyond that to the fact that, you know, cryptocurrencies, you know, certainly some cryptocurrencies have the potential to completely replace some of these old-fashioned kind of systems. So I think first stage will be getting you know, like I've talked about in the past, you know, 10x and Monaco and companies like this, I think the first step might be something like that. So you've got a traditional, you've got a, like, you know, an old-fashioned kind of Visa card that you can use your contactless payment. You can use it anywhere that your Visa or Mastercard is accepted, but it's tied into kind of like a cryptocurrency account at the back end doing real-time conversion. So I think that might be the first step into kind of getting kind of cryptos sort of into kind of like people's, you know, kind of hands. And then you can see then kind of like, you know, a crypto or maybe a couple of cryptos or a bunch of them that are interchangeable, being able to then go to kind of stores and say, well, why are you giving Visa or Mastercard or whatever 2%, 3% or whatever, when you can actually just, you know, use our kind of point of sale software and kind of do it directly and pay, you know, a fraction of that, maybe a fraction of a kind of percent. So I think that would be the next kind of step. It's interesting to see Mastercard still trying to kind of find a niche for themselves within this new technology. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thanks very much for watching. As always, let me know your comments below. It's always good to hear from you. I do try and answer all the comments I get. So yeah, ask me anything below and I'll do my best to answer. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Hopefully I will see you on the next video. But before that, have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.